So I'm back. For anybody who just saw, I've been on interviewing Marlene Cronin this morning, and now I've got, ta-da, Rory Halliday-Stokes. Hi, bud.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Rory is for his sins, he's my personal trainer. And we started working together 2017, yeah.
Yeah.
And oh my god, that was an amazing year.
Amazing.
In terms of what we worked on, it was amazing. And then I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and everything got a little bit muddled up, and I had a couple of years where I didn't train for one reason and another, and now, bless him. Poor you, Rory. You've got me back.
It's a pleasure.
We're on it again. But more that you are my personal trainer, but also we're good mates. Because we have the best conversations, do we not?
Yeah, we have some good discussions, don't we?
We do. And this interview series, there's a lot of spiritual people, kind of, for want of a better description, that I'm interviewing. But the reason that I asked Rory on is because you are my personal trainer. You're a very kind of, down to earth guy. But you are so into mindset, learning, well-being. And for me, and I've kind of been on a weight loss thing my entire life, really, but I haven't come across, and maybe it's different now, you can tell us, but certainly in the past, there haven't been that many kind of coaches, personal trainers, that sort of stuff, who have been as into the mindset and what the importance of that, alongside your nutrition and your training and physical exercise. And I just think it's just such an interesting concept that, almost some of the stuff that we talk about that is very much based on personal training, it's kind of spiritual. So to kind of, first of all, tell us how you got into being a PT. What happened? Did you always want to do it from when you were little, or how did you get into that?
Oh, that's a really good question. So we're rolling it right back now. So if we go back to when I was in secondary school, I had absolutely no idea, nor did I ever dream I would end up doing the job that I do now, working with people, coaching people, getting people fitter, helping people lose fat, all those kind of things. But I suppose what led me into fitness was around the age of 14, 15, I had really, really, really bad skin conditions.
Okay.
And you know what it's like as a teenager, it comes on you like within 6 months, bam. So you've been like this normal child, you enter adolescence, and then bam, I had this really bad skin condition. And I remember, I don't even know how it kind of led up on me, but it just shot my self-confidence to pieces, like to absolute pieces. And I remember waking up one day and thinking, God, I don't even want to look at people in the face. And that sounds like quite deep, and it is quite deep, but that's genuinely,
it's a huge thing.
Yeah, and that's genuinely how I felt. And I remember thinking at the time, well, if I can't control my skin, I can control my body, which I know is like crazy. So that's what kind of led me into becoming more into the gym and getting into fitness. And one of my very best friends, he was into the gym already. Right. So I suppose we just kind of rubbed shoulders, spoke about it. He was like, yeah, you should do it. And I remember doing it. And I remember it got to a point where I went to see a specialist about my skin. He put me on a course of really strong medication, and I got better, thankfully, over the course of 12 months. And I've not had the problem again, which is amazing. So I kind of ran this parallel of like getting my health better, but also getting, I suppose, my body better. And it just gave me, like, week after week, month after month, more confidence, just understand myself a lot more. So it just kind of spiraled from there. And I remember it come to the end of sixth form, and I was like, God, like, I've always been into business and IT and that kind of thing. But I never really knew where that would take me. It was like a general interest at school. And I remember thinking, God, I'm getting into this exercise malarkey. So I went to uni, did a degree in exercise. From there, got a part-time job in a gym. And I'm lucky enough to transition now where I work for myself, half online, half out of that same gym I used to be quote unquote employed at. And I suppose, yeah, that's it in a nutshell, really.
Fab, that's amazing. But it's interesting that it wasn't just, you didn't just wake up. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons you're so into mindset training, because you didn't just wake up one day and go, oh, I'm going to be a personal trainer. You had a journey, and it was a journey for you to get to that. And then when you were on it, you regained some of yourself.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why you're so into the stuff that you're into.
Yeah, definitely. But
you have, I read a lot of books, but you read more books than anybody I've ever known read books. And that is saying something. He's always saying to me, he always says to me, oh, Kate, you're going to love this book. And I'm like, fucking hell, he's read another one. I can't keep up. It's amazing. You love them, don't you?
Yeah. I think reading's really important. I've always, I suppose, in school, I was never like the brightest kid in the class. I've probably always been kind of bright, but I've never been like a straight A student. But I've always been interested in getting better. I like the idea of getting better. Like, why wouldn't you want to get better in everything that you do? Reading, especially like a certain kind of book, I think can really harness your psychological maturity, if that's even a word.
Wow, deep. It's a word now.
We've made it a word.
It's saying now, even if it wasn't. Definitely. So do you like when you read these, obviously some of the books you read you're going to take more away from than others, but do you think they all have like a common theme or something that you really subscribe to as a personal trainer in your work?
Yeah, definitely. So I suppose the kind of word to use is like self-development. It's interesting because you speak to some people about that realm of learning and they think it's a bit wishy-washy and they're like, oh, is it really that good?
A bit woo-woo.
Yeah, a bit woo-woo, but something, and don't get me wrong, like there's one end of it that is probably a little bit wishy-washy and there's like a softer end of it which people find probably quite beneficial. And I think something's, a tool is only as good as what you make use of it. And it's the same principle. So you've got to read it, see how it kind of resonates with you in your life. And if there's something in there you genuinely think is worth using, you should apply it. And trust me, like I am much happier, much more leveled out psychologically now than I've ever been. And I think that is just because I've done more reading and learning, and as simple as that, really.
And you've got more tools in your toolkit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was talking to Marlene before you, and we were talking about, sometimes you resonate with things and sometimes you don't. And it's the same with people, sometimes you meet people you resonate with and sometimes you don't. And so as a personal trainer who's into that sort of thing, do you use it with all of your clients, or is it something that kind of you use it to help them without them knowing? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Actively talk about with everyone, or do you kind of have to know your audience?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good question. So for someone like you who's already,
crazy bitch.
Good example. I can use that information knowledge very directly with you. So I can say, look, Kate, I've been doing a bit of reading here, or I read this a while ago. I thought this of it. This is how maybe you can apply it, and you'll appreciate it because you have an appreciation for it. However, others, I might use it a little bit more indirectly. So I might not tell them it's something necessarily from self-development or about harnessing better mindset, but I might ask them questions, or I might use a certain couple of tools that is exactly the same as what I'd say to you or make a recommendation to you, but I won't tell them it's from self-development. It will be almost kind of disguised because, not everyone wants, that sort of information run down their throat. And I get that, and I totally get that. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, but there's something in it for everybody. Absolutely believe that.
So you just surreptitiously slip it in.
Yeah. Disguise it in, mask it in.
Brilliant. I love it. We were talking when the gym was open, so it's a little while ago now. I go to the gym and we have our sessions. We always have a right old natter. And I remember kind of at the beginning of when I started back with you this time, we were talking about something, I can't remember what, and I said to you that I'd watched a video that had really triggered me about physical health.
Yes.
And we had a big old chat about that at the time. So I just want to kind of go in there now, because a lot of the people that are watching this are my followers who are spiritual.
Yeah.
So, and this was a video that I watched by Preston Smiles. Do you know the one I'm going to say?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I absolutely love Preston. I love him. Like, I've followed him since the very beginning. I'm like so big into his stuff. It's unbelievable. And he did this video a little while back, and he said, quote unquote, more or less word for word, if you're spiritual, whatever that means, but let's just go with it. If you're spiritual and you're not looking after your body, you're not really spiritual. And I was like, what? How dare you? Like, I was so fucking triggered. I was like, how dare he say that to me? Like, not because like my ego's so big that I need to feel that I am, people think I'm spiritual, but because for myself, like, I invest a lot of time into that side of things, like into my connection with source, with the universe, whatever you want to call it, God, whatever, Allah, whatever. I invest a lot of time into that. And so for me, it was almost like saying all that work that you do for yourself, that you spend a lot of time on, and you have spent money on, and all this sort of stuff, and years and years and years of my life pouring myself into it, it means jack shit, because you're overweight and you're unhealthy. So what the fuck are you playing at? And fuck me, I was angry for a little while. And then I started to think about it, and I kind of saw where he was coming from, because I believe that we are spiritual beings having a very human experience, as we've discussed before. And so as such, it's my soul's responsibility, if you like, to look after the physical vessel that I've been given, and I have neglected that. And we had a long chat about that, because fuck me, I was so pissed off. What do you think? What, like, I can't remember what we talked about now at the time, but like, it's such a big statement. Do you think that it's a responsibility that should kind of everybody really needs to take on board, and that if you don't take it on board, you're denying an aspect of yourself?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and my answer is obviously going to be coming from
you're
like
not going to tell us all to eat cheese and biscuits, are you?
Yeah, obviously my aspect's going to come from how I see fitness, how it's changed me and how it's changed others psychologically and from a mindset perspective. And I think that you said it yourself, just you can't serve from an empty vessel. Like, you can't. And we live in a world where if you want to serve others, and if you want to harness like a great life and stuff, you can't do that unless you look after yourself. And I think mandatory part of looking after yourself is how you treat yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you think about yourself, how much exercise you take. I mean, you've not got to be a fitness model or a bodybuilder or an Olympic athlete, but you've got to do some exercise. You've got to take care of what you eat. You've got to look after your sleep. So there's tons of things that go into you being like the best version of you, and I think that's so important. So I think, although like I probably can't speak about it from like a pure spiritual angle, I totally agree with the fact that how can you be at your very best, very deepest, unless you are totally in touch with your body physically and mentally? That's a strong belief I hold, definitely.
Well, and I know, we've spoken about it a lot of times, the times where I've, even when I'm training with you, and it's been tricky, the last few weeks have been a fucking nightmare, but as you know, even when it's difficult and if I'm struggling to get my steps in and eat healthily and all of that stuff, you know, because we work together, that it massively affects my mental health.
Yeah.
Like, and that massively affects my spirituality in the sense that I feel disconnected. There's a disconnect between me and who I actually am. And a lot of times the exercise and the nutrition is linked to that. We've talked about that so much, and you always sort of say to me, you know, cajole me gently into, right, we've got this, you just do this, break it down. And is it the same for everybody? Do you have people that just go at it like a train and they never falter and they get it done and they're all good? Or the majority of the people like on a journey and their mental health affects their ability to exercise, their connection to themselves affects their ability to exercise, and then their exercise deficit affects their mental health? And then do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So that's a really good question, and the honest answer is it's so broad. You're always going to have a handful of people who you give them a plan and they will stick to it like a script. So like I've got one lady who's come into the back of my mind, and I'm going to use her as an example. If I was to say to her, jump, she would literally say, how high? Right. And she'd give it a go. And it's, for some people, they're just almost, their mindset is just slightly more geared towards just sticking to a plan. However, I think the majority fall in the middle where they can stick to a few things, but there's always going to be one or two things that they find more difficult than others. Mm-hmm. What I always think is it's my job to highlight them, spend most of our time working on those things, letting them carry on with the stuff they're quite good at and I find quite easy, and harness it from there. And like you say, you also get people at the other end of it who are starting from a place where, you know, they don't know a lot about fitness, they don't know a lot about food, they probably don't feel great about themselves. They're very much starting from a psychological and physical base. And you've kind of got to say, right, it's a marathon, not a sprint, but we can definitely get there like 100%. And I think that the most important thing for anyone who gets into exercise and almost as well psychologically and from a mindset perspective getting better is asking yourself why. Like, why are you doing it? Like, what do you want more from in life? Like, what is exercise going to do that's going to improve your life? Because none of us do anything with the sort of preempts that we're not going to get anything from it. And it's the same with exercise. Like, you need to say to yourself, genuinely, like, what do I want from this? Yeah. And as soon as you find out why, like what you want from life and like what you want from exercise, you're in such a better position to stick to a plan because you understand why you're doing it rather than going in sort of blindly. It sounds good, like doing a workout in your front room, but unless you know why, what the big goal is and kind of how it's going to get you better physically, psychologically, it is just a bit of fluff, really. Like I'm quite big on that. Everyone's got a good reason to exercise, and I'm sure anyone who's into their exercise and, you know, their psychology and their mindset, they'll be able to reel off, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 reasons why they do it every day.
Yeah, definitely. So for you, what are some of the best things that you've read in like mindset, the books that you read and the theories that you kind of subscribe to about self-development that you really, you're like, yes.
That, like, oh yes, like that's a bit of me.
That's a bit of me. I'll have a bit of that. I'll chuck it to customers. Yeah.
Oh, that's really, really good. So one book that really stands out to me that's good to read is it's a really famous one, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. That's a really good one. That's all about kind of it's like a mixture of kind of self-development and also business. So if you're looking to find like more purpose in things, that really helps you understand, you know, what your purpose is and how to kind of stay more motivated for the long term. That would be one. I absolutely love, my favorite book of all time is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a really popular one. And one thing I'm a big believer in as well is that when you learn how to communicate with others and make them feel good, as a result of that, you feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's very rewarding that. So, and that's another part of you feeling, I think you feeling really good about who you are, knowing that you're good for other people.
Definitely.
That gives you purpose. Because if you think, even if you're having a rubbish day, you've still got to show up. You've still got to be like nice to the people around you. You've still got to help the people who you've got to help. And you serve a purpose to not just you, but others as well. That's massive as well. So that'd be a second one. And a third one, there's one called Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's a really good story. So that's about a gentleman who had a really nasty injury from a baseball game. He basically got whacked in the face with a baseball bat. He got induced into a coma. He fractured his skull. It's really like intense at the start. And it's all about how he rebuilt his life from forming little habits. And I'm really big on habits and routine, and you've got to set the day up to win.
Yeah.
Set your day up to win. That has a knock on it. Yeah. We have, and that's a really enjoyable read. So Atomic Habits, that'd probably be my top 3.
Okay, so if you were gonna if for anybody that's watching who wanted to not necessarily get a personal trainer, but like, I don't know, change things up so that they were living healthier, feeling better about themselves, whatever their reason is, whatever their why is, what top 3 things would you kind of say are key into setting yourself up to win every day?
Okay, that's a really good question. So number 1 would be to factor in more walking. Walks are an absolute godsend. They're good for your headspace. They're good for your exercise. You'll burn more calories. People who walk,
get a bit of everything in there, can't you? You can get that connection, your mind clears and everything else, but also you're doing something healthy.
Absolutely. And like, walking, I suppose for me, walking is almost like my version of like meditation, if you like. I'll go for a walk on my own, put my earphones in, go for a nice long walk, like, whether it's like over the commons by me, and you just lose yourself, and it just helps me, I think, and a lot of people, a lot of my friends and my clients, like, almost just gather their thoughts.
Walking is definitely meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be sort of sat with your eyes closed. You can meditate while you're washing up if you enjoy doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's having that space, isn't it? Creating space for yourself. So definitely.
Absolutely.
So
walking, absolutely love that analogy, by the way, like creating space. It literally is like you're basically filing away all your thoughts, feelings and emotions, ready for the day ahead or ready for the day that's just gone, whether you're a morning walk or a night walk at lunchtime. And it just almost gives you hits that refresh button, ready for the rest of your day and whatever it might entail. So that'd be number 1. Number 2, really, I'm a big believer in not just eating healthy, because I think that's quite vague, but understanding nutrition. So improving your knowledge on food, learn, what foods have got higher proteins, what foods are higher fiber, what foods have a dense in vitamins, minerals, what foods are high in carbohydrates. And once you learn that, eating healthy for me is so much less of a battle, because you understand what's going in your body, what it's going to do for your body. And when you understand that, you'll respect the way you eat a little bit more, because you won't just see food as it's there, it's got to go down. You can look at it and say, right, okay,
it's there, shovel it in.
So you want to look at me and say, right, I've got that there. That's going to give my body protein, so I'm going to be recovering. That's got fiber. It's going to be good for my digestion. I've got vegetables and fruits that, you can look at a meal and see that all the good things it's going to do for your body. So just educating yourself more around calorie intake, protein intake, vitamins and minerals. So having a knowledge of nutrition and trying to take where you are now and just make it a little bit better. Just 1 or 2 things at a time. You're not going to sort of go away and try and change everything and it'd be a little bit overwhelming. Just look at 1 or 2 things you can do to get your calorie intake under control and just start eating healthier foods.
Cool. I spoke to a lady called Erin last week, the week before, and she does work around sort of intuitive eating. So as well as kind of, obviously it's important to know what you're putting in your body and everything else in terms of what you've just said, but also I think there is some aspect of what feels good for you, don't you? I mean,
absolutely.
Even if you are trying to avoid certain foods because they're more calorie dense or whatever, there's still foods that feel, even if they're in a range that you're kind of all right to eat all the time, there's still foods that feel better for you to eat. And it's important. You're always saying to me, don't deprive yourself of the stuff that makes you feel good when you eat it.
Yes, absolutely. There's an area that's becoming more, I'll probably say more mainstream now, and I think it's, once it really does hit like the mainstream, it's gonna do people some real good. And it's food, it's meal hygiene, which sounds like, oh, make sure your plate's clean and stuff, but it's not that. It's paying more attention to actually sitting down with a meal, like, okay, what have I got on my plate? I'm going to chew this food. I'm going to enjoy this food. I've got X amount of, it's all about mindfully
respecting food, almost.
Respecting food, yeah. Being respectful of food. And it's little things like, if you're having a chocolate bar, almost instead of sitting there just eating it unknowingly in front of the telly, sit there, break it up, enjoy it, actually taste it and say, oh, this is really enjoyable, but I'm going to only have this amount, because if I have a little bit too much, I know that's not good for me. I know that's not congruent to my goals. So it's all about being more mindful about how you sort of spend time with food. And to a lot of people that might also sound a little bit wishy-washy, but believe me, if you take a TV out the way and sit in front of your meal, look at it, actually taste it, actually think about it, you'll enjoy a meal so much more.
And it's really interesting how everything is so interlinked. Like we were saying, the whole, if you're not looking after yourself, then you're not doing a spiritual thing for yourself. You're neglecting yourself. And whilst I'm a really big believer in, you just do what the fuck feels good for you. And if you want to eat all the crisps, then you eat all the crisps. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be a certain way or look a certain way, because I'm not. But what I am saying is that, I think it's really important that you feel good. And it's when you don't feel good, when you're in that place that you feel really shit about yourself, that's when you are neglecting the human side of your spirituality. And I think that's what Preston was saying, going back to what I was saying earlier. It's like when you feel stuck and depressed and horrible and like you look like a mess, that's when you're not being your best self. And I know that you would totally agree with that. And you don't have to be skinny to do that. You don't have to be mega fit to do that. But I know for me that, the end of 2017, when we got to where we got to, I felt amazing. So there's no doubt. The proof is in the pudding. The nice thing about your work is that you get to see those results.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is amazing, and that's probably the best bit. And our industry, and a lot of coaches, and this is an amazing part of it. Love the whole before and after photo, and it is amazing when you've got someone who was here and now they look like that, and that's what attracts people to it. However, one thing that I think is really important is the actual transformation of someone. You don't actually see it in a picture. You see it in the way they speak, in the way they behave, in the way they act, in their whole life. People have better relationships, better work life, they have a better relationship with themselves. All these things that a picture doesn't really say is a real transformation. As good as a before and after photo looks, it's amazing when someone comes in and they're like, I've started speaking to so and so, and they're into the gym, and we're almost like friends now, and we talk about that. And when I get home, I'm not hitting the cupboards. I understand that I need to eat a good meal. I hit this weight last week. I feel incredible. I did 15,000 steps the weekend. I wouldn't have done that 6 months ago. All of that is the best, the most rewarding part of the job for me anyway.
Yeah. Do you find that people who kind of, after they've worked with you for a little while and they're really getting to where they want to be, do you ever find that they make big life changes? like not related to food, but like, you know, do you get people coming to you and say I don't know, they've lost loads of weight, they've got really fit, they feel amazing, like you say, and you can tell it's not just the picture, they feel much more connected to themselves, and they're coming into you going, oh, I've just done this huge life thing, like this, had this huge life event and changed everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong, like it's not everyone. A lot of people come in and they almost want fitness, that, you know, that they're kind of happy where they are, but they know there's like another level that they want to go to, and like fitness can just build them up there.
Yeah.
But you do get that sometimes as well. So I know people who've changed careers because of it. I know people who've completely give up alcohol because of it.
Yeah.
And not even because they were sort of addicted, if you like, or an alcoholic, just because it kind of opened their mind up to a light where, God, I like how I feel and I don't want to lose this feeling. And for that reason, I'm not going to do this anymore. Definitely like friendship circles. That's quite a common one. You know, people, especially people who have quite a lot of self-limiting beliefs. A lot of it can come from other people who they spend time with. And as hard as that is, and as much as it's not my job to almost sit there and tell someone ditch your friends, because that's not what I'm saying at all, people kind of think, God, like I come here, I feel really good, but actually when I go down the pub with so and so, or when I go for food with so and so, they don't make me feel good. They make me feel like how I felt for the reason I come here.
Yeah.
So people's friendships change. Yeah, absolutely, it can really change people.
Do you feel like you're like your clients' therapists sometimes? It's a bit like going to your hairdresser. Do you know what I mean? Like people come in and they're like telling you their deepest, darkest feelings around food and like their friendships and how they feel about themselves.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's really interesting this, and like in kind of my industry, if you get talking to someone else, like another coach, you'll have this conversation a lot, and some coaches kind of will really push the whole have a chat, like hear what's going on, and then you'll get coaches who are like, no, I'm here to like be someone.
Right. Okay.
It's tough because as much as you are there to like train someone and coach them, and that's important, you can't neglect the psychology, because if you do, people think you're an arsehole.
I think it's important, you know, because the thing is, the reason that people are telling you those things is because it's related in some way to what you're doing. And I think that's what I love about you. You know, that I do feel that, I mean, I know we're mates, but it's like we're only mates because we started working together. And I started working with you, and I feel like you get me. Do you know what I mean? In a really difficult area for me that like quite often I don't like talking about. I know that I can say to you, this is how it is. This is how I feel. This is what the issue is. And that's really deeply connected to other areas of my psyche. So, you know, it might be something that happened to me 20 years ago, blah, 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 you know, and it's all linked, and that's why I'm feeling it. And I think it's really, that's why I asked you on here, because I think you're one of the very few people in the industry that I really feel understands that, which is great. And lucky your clients, that's all I can say.
But you're so right. Like it's like our job, like, and the people who I look up to in my industry, they're really leveled out with their own psychology, their own mindset. And for that reason, their clients are as well. And when you can really sort of stand in your client's shoes and understand how they feel, how they think, you can actually help them then. You can't help someone, I don't think, unless you can genuinely sort of stand in their shoes and say, okay, this is their lifestyle, these are the problems that they're having, this is how that makes them feel, this is how much time they have to dispose. Until you can answer all those questions, it's very difficult, I think, to help someone, you know. So definitely, like, it's the most important part. Like, you can have the best training plan, the best nutrition plan, and it means nothing if you don't understand your client's mind.
No, absolutely. I'll tell you who doesn't understand your client's mind.
Who?
The lady in Costa.
Oh, The lady in Costa. Oh my God. Yeah.
We had a meeting in Costa, didn't we?
Yeah.
It wasn't like a meet up for coffee. It was a meet up for coffee chat, but it wasn't a friendship thing. It was a like work thing. It was a let's get your fat ass like sorted out. And we were sat there minding our own business, having a nice drink, chatting about what we were doing. And it was quite busy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And every table was full, and the tables are quite close together in the one that we were in. And this woman just turned around to you, didn't she? And she was just like, everybody in here can hear what you're saying. Everybody can in here. She like proper had a rant as I can't even hear my husband talk. It was so funny. Rory was like, oh, sorry.
I couldn't believe it.
It was ages ago now, but we still laugh about it now. It was so funny.
And it was so ill timed because like let's say for example like you're in a pub and there's that rowdy group in the corner and someone says, oh, do you mind keeping it down? And you think, okay, fair play, they're being a little bit loud. Like we're in Costa, it's super loud everywhere, like you can just hear one noise. And we were having a really good discussion, and it wasn't like we were talking about fluff. We were like, we're really digging deep, like, okay, what's, why do you want to do this? What's this going to mean to you? Like, how would that make you feel? Really serious stuff, like a conversation you can't just interrupt on. And she went there.
And then it was even more funny because me and Ross just kind of looked at each other and we were like, wow, we've just been told to shut the fuck up in a building that is full of noisy kids. I mean, the noise in there was unbelievable. And then her and her husband never said anything to each other for like 20 minutes, did they? You're not even talking to each other. Oh my God, it was so funny.
I remember I told Jess about it like pretty much straight afterwards, and she was so surprised that you hadn't like strangled this woman.
I'm glad Jess's image of me is that I'm just going to beat someone to death for
telling. No, yeah.
I'm going to message her in a minute, but it was funny. Well, thank you for coming on. I really love. I wanted people to see that in the normal areas of our life that we all struggle with. There are always things that you can do, and that it's a case of finding the things that work for you, but also the people that work for you. And I can't imagine ever having another personal trainer I just can't. It's almost like it would be sacrilege, but also I just don't think there are that many that understand the in-depth psyche of it as much as you do. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
And for everybody else that you work with. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how's best for them to do that?
So we're streaming to Facebook. So I've got a Facebook page, and it's my full name. So Rory Halliday-Stokes, personal trainer, online coach. It should come up. And then on Instagram, which is probably my main platform in terms of online, it's Rory Halliday-Stokes Coach. But you'll absolutely be able to find me, and I'm posting stuff up daily about mindset, about nutrition. Not
Instagram posts. They're brilliant.
Yeah. So they're going, and I always think when I post, is this going to give someone value? So hopefully, if you do follow me, they're of value.
Yeah, it always does. And sometimes you get pictures of his dog as well, which is amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks, Ross.
Not a problem.
I'll see you on Friday.
Yes, I'll see you Friday. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye. Bye.